Hello, everyone. Salim Omar here from the Straight Talk About Small Business Success podcast. We have a special guest. His name is Tim Fitzpatrick. Tim, welcome.
Salim, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. And Tim's going to talk about a topic that is really very relevant to small businesses. And Tim says marketing shouldn't be difficult. All you need is the right plan. Tim's been in business for many years. He has expertise in marketing and business growth. For 20 plus years, he's owned several businesses, 3 to be precise. And so with that said, Tim, give us a little bit about your backstory, perhaps a high-level overview, 30 seconds or less. I know it's difficult.
Yeah, no problem at all. So I was not entrepreneurial as a kid. I was always good in school, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But when I got out of college, I actually got involved in a wholesale distribution company. My dad had been in a similar business for a long time. He had started the wholesale distribution company a couple of years before I graduated. And when I got out, there was no full-time employees. So I ended up getting involved in that. I thought it was going to be a short-term thing. And, 9 years later, we sold it, so I ran the company day to day for 9 years, grew about 60% a year. From there, after we sold it, I got into real estate for a while, did not like that. And that's when I transitioned into marketing, which is what I'm doing today.
Got it. How long have you been doing marketing?
Since 2013, somewhere around there.
So about 8 years, you're working with small businesses, helping them with their marketing.
Yep.
Got it. Yeah. So what are some marketing principles that you feel are really important for a small business owner to know, to understand, so that they can grow their business?
Yeah, Salim, and by the way, what we're talking about, nothing new. Okay. But I think in marketing, it's so easy for people to skip the fundamentals, the principles, because there's just so many different channels, so many different tactics. People just want to get in and start taking action immediately. The problem is when we do that, we're kind of building a house without a foundation. And inevitably, people end up wasting time and they waste money on marketing that doesn't work. And it's not that the tactics don't work, it's that they don't have the fuel for the vehicles that they're trying to use. That's where the fundamentals come in. So when I look at the fundamentals, I call them the marketing strategy trilogy. You have your target market. Who are you going to serve within a given market? You have a message. What message are you going to communicate to attract and engage those people? And then what's your plan? What is the plan to get that message in front of those people? Without those 3 things, most people are just throwing spaghetti up against a wall and hoping something sticks.
Got it. So Tim, I'm going to play devil's advocate. You've got a small business owner listening to it and say, Tim, I know who my target market is. I serve them and I see them every day. So I know who that person is. Is there more that they need to know about the target market than they may be thinking they know?
Absolutely. I would say the vast majority of businesses think they may understand their target market, but they really don't. They've only scratched the surface, right? So I don't know about you, Salim. I talk to a lot of people, and just say, hey, who do you work with? What types of clients do you work with? And it's small business owners, entrepreneurs. That is far too broad. I can't serve every small business owner. There are very specific things about the businesses that we work with that make them ideal clients for us. And we really need to hone in on that because most of us, dare I say all of us, have worked with clients that were not a good fit for us. That right there is the exact reason why you need to start to hone in. Right? That client was not a good fit because they weren't an ideal client. Right. And
so honing in terms of perhaps the demographics, like what income, what's their income, revenues, profit, how many employees they have, if it's B2B.
Yeah.
Like those kinds of things.
Yeah. It's demographics. It's the numbers about the people. It's The psychographics, like where are they at in the, what's their headspace like? What are the common problems that they have? What results or outcomes are they looking for? We need to understand all of those things. So when you niche down or you specialize, I mean, you can specialize in a specific audience or an industry, right? So you could say, I'm the marketer for chiropractors or dentists or whatever. That's very niche, right? But even when you niche that narrow, not every dentist or every chiropractor is going to be a good fit. There are attributes about that specific chiropractor, for example, that are going to make them an ideal client. And you need to understand what those attributes are so that you can communicate to them in a way that's going to attract them.
And so how does somebody identify their ideal client? If would they look at their existing clients and start kind of asking some questions, or like which ones are the ones that are enjoyable to work with, which ones are the ones that are profitable, which ones are the ones that we're making a difference for, and those types of things, to start kind of getting an understanding of within this bigger target market that a business has, is there a smaller pocket that are better, that are the 20-80 rule, right?
Yep.
The 20% of the clients that result in 80% of the profits, the 20% of the clients that are that provide the most satisfaction, that are easier to work with, that are better to work with, and so forth.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Salim. I always recommend people that have been in business for a while start with their existing client base, their existing and past client base. And I say, hey, ask yourself 3 questions. Who do we enjoy working with? Like, why do you want to work with clients that make you want to bang your head against a wall? There's no point in that. So identify the clients that you loved working with. Then ask yourself, who are our most profitable clients? If we're going to stay in business, we need to make money. There's nothing wrong with that. So we need to look at who our most profitable clients are. And then who do we get great results for? If we can work with clients that we love working with, they're profitable, we get great results, our business is going to be in very, very good shape. So when you ask yourself those 3 questions, you end up with a subgroup of current and past clients that you answered positively to all 3 of those questions. It is that group that you start to look into and dig deeper into what we just talked about, the demographics, the psychographics, to see, hey, are there groups from here that share some commonalities? It's those groups that share commonalities that often start to point you in the right direction of who your ideal clients are.
Yeah. And then once you identified who the ideal client is, who the right target market is, talk to us about the second thing that you said in this trilogy, which is messaging.
Yeah. We can't create a message for somebody until we know exactly who those people are, right? Once we understand who they are, and what we really want to do is get in their head as it relates to what we do. Because when we can put a message out that is in their language, not ours, it's going to resonate with them. But 2 of the biggest mistakes people make with messaging is, 1, they talk about themselves too much. Like, our customers don't care about us. They care about what we can do for them. How can we help them solve this problem that they have and help them get to where they want to be? So our messaging should not talk about us all that much. Talks about us enough to position ourselves as an expert and a guide. But our messaging really needs to focus on the problems our ideal clients have and don't want, and the results that they want and don't have. That's what we need to focus on. The second big mistake that businesses make is their message is not clear. It's confusing. And when we confuse people, confused people do not buy, and we lose them. Like, our patience is so short at this point because we're so used to, I can pick up my phone and get the answer to any question I have in like seconds. So if I can't understand what you do and how I might benefit very quickly, most people are not going to take the time to figure it out.
This is so good. Yeah. And so I can see why messaging comes after identifying the target market, so that the message resonates with your target market. It's speaking exactly to that audience. Now,
Yes.
talk to us the third thing, the third element, which is a plan.
Yeah. So I'm going to get pretty tactical with this one. With marketing planning, you've got to keep it short because our businesses are evolving quickly. The market is changing quickly. In my opinion, I think it's a waste of time to create like a year-long marketing plan. Nobody puts together a year-long marketing plan that is the same at the end of that year. It's morphed completely. So why not keep things simple? I look at marketing planning in 90-day sprints. 90 days is long enough to start seeing traction, but it's a short enough period of time where you can go, okay, what's starting to work, or what do we see we're starting to get traction with, and what are we not? And we can make updates and course corrections, and we just wash, rinse, repeat every 90 days. So to keep marketing plans simple, I keep it in 90 days. Six things are in there. Target market. So who are your ideal clients? What's your goal for the next 90 days? Typically it's going to be specific. It's measurable. I intend to bring on 5 new clients in the next 90 days. Okay. We need to understand what our budget and our resources are. This gives us an idea of what we have to work with. Do I have $500 a month? Do I have $50,000 a month to invest in my marketing? And how many people do I have that can help with that? And what are their capabilities? If Joe on my team has time to handle LinkedIn, but he doesn't know what the hell LinkedIn is, then that's probably not going to work very well, right? The fourth step is we need to understand where we're currently at. We can't create a plan to get where we want to go until we know where we're starting from. It's like my GPS. Can't tell me how to get to the airport until I tell it where I'm starting from. Then in the fifth step, we can start to outline what our priorities are. What are we going to focus on in the next 90 days? This helps eliminate distraction. All the noise, the next guru that's sending you an email next week saying you need to be here, you can have the discipline to say, you know what? No, because it's not in my plan right now. And then the sixth thing is you need to understand what metrics you're going to track. There are a lot of people out there that are investing in marketing. They don't know whether it's working because they haven't outlined the metrics that are going to help give them an indication of whether things are working or not. So those six things are in the plan. We keep it simple. Now, a lot of people say, okay, that's great. I get it. But how do I know what to focus on like right now? Okay. I'm going to give you 3 things that I think are the easiest place to start. 1, if you do not have your ideal clients and your message dialed in, you have to do that first. Otherwise, you're going to waste time and you're going to waste money. Second, your website. Everything you do from a marketing standpoint drives people back to your website. If it is not right, you're going to waste time, you're going to waste money. The third thing is what's already working in your business. Why reinvent the wheel? You don't need to go into a new marketing channel until you've fully optimized what's already working. So if referrals are my best lead source, let's take a step back and look at like, what are we doing? What's our process to get referrals? Do we have gaps? Can we do more of the things in our process that are working? Optimize that first, then you can start to expand out into other marketing channels and tactics.
Makes so much sense. I mean, what you've given us already, it's there's a lot.
Yeah.
The three things. I mean, that's like, you use the word fundamentals, and so many times businesses are chasing that shiny object, right? It's the new thing. And the new thing is not it may be okay, but we got to get the fundamentals right. And the fundamentals are target market, messaging, and then the plan. And I like short and simple. And I like 3 months. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. The more I've studied it, even if when it comes to business plans, really going beyond 1 year, the marketplace changes so much that you can't, it's very challenging and difficult to go beyond 1 year. So really trying to keep it to 1 year as a long-term, like 1 year is long-term, and then short-term is three months.
I think it's important to have an idea of where you're headed, but longer-term plans become very complex, and complexity gets in the way of getting to results.
Yeah.
So that's why I love 90 days. I look at 90 days just from a marketing planning standpoint, but in everything that I do, right? Because, there's a quote, I can't remember where I heard this, but somebody always told me, focus on the next measurable step, right? Like when we get overwhelmed with all these things we need to do, what's the next measurable step I can take to help me get that much closer? That's what using a 90-day plan does, is it just helps you focus on the next measurable step so that you can take things in bite-sized chunks.
Yeah. It's a 90-day sprint. And I mean, I've even worked with folks which do 6-week sprints. So they'll work on initiatives, so really that short, keep it very focused, very tight. And that becomes, everyone's focus, because that's kind of what gives results. Now we've got only like 7-8 minutes left, and I've got like a ton to cover with you. You've been in business for quite a while. You worked with so many businesses as well. From all that experience, like what's like the biggest mistake that you see entrepreneurs making, or perhaps that you made in your journey?
Oh gosh, I've made a lot of mistakes, but I think I would say the biggest mistake that I've made, and I'm getting better at this, but I still struggle with it from time to time, is asking for help. Like, we don't have all the answers. There are people out there that do. They've already been where we are and they've pushed through it. We need to ask for help. There's plenty of people that are out there that want to help. And I know for me, not asking for help slowed my progress, right? It took longer for me to get where I wanted to go because I did not ask for help.
Now, why did you not ask for help? Because there's other business owners that may not be asking for help. Like, what got in your way?
Yeah, early on in my professional career, it was head trash. Like, asking for help is a sign of weakness, right? But in reality, it's the exact opposite, right? By asking for help, you're showing, hey, look, I have the confidence, I have the self-awareness to know that I need help. And I'm okay putting myself out there, being vulnerable, saying, hey, I'm stuck, I need help, right? Initially, that's what it was. Sometimes I also think we're so in our businesses that it's very difficult to think objectively about it. It's hard to see the forest through the trees, or, we're too close to the fire, if you will. And so sometimes I think we may have the blinders on and we don't know that we need to ask for help, right? And it requires somebody else to point out, like, hey, I think, you're getting stuck here. So for me, those two things have occurred and gotten in the way of me asking for help when I really should have.
Now, what does that mean, asking for help? What does that look like for you? What's your advice to a business owner that is feeling stuck, or maybe they're not stuck, but maybe they're missing on opportunities, right? Or maybe they're not seeing the biggest pitfall that is just around the corner, and they're just so busy working or whatever. For whatever reason, their blind spots, they're not able to see that. What does that look like in terms of asking for help? How does that come?
Well, so in my case, okay, for example, I'm currently in a mentorship program, 15-month mentorship program, where there's coaches there to ask questions to. There's curriculum, there's templates, there's all kinds of support tools within this mentorship program that make it very easy for me to ask for help, right? So we need to have a support structure in place in some way if we're going to ask for help. And that may look differently depending on where you're at, but you need to have other people that you can rely on that can give you outside eyes. So that's the way I look at help. It could be a mastermind group. It could be a networking group. It could be just a small group of peers that you have, right? In the first business I was in, the wholesale distribution company, one of the reasons we grew so fast was because we partnered with other distributors like us in different markets. So we all served different markets, geographic markets across the country. And that allowed us to go to manufacturers and give them instant nationwide access to a very specific market that we were serving. But the other thing that that did for us was we had peers and we got together on a regular basis. Some were further ahead than others, but every time we had a question, we had a support system to go to. Hey, I'm running into a problem with X. And inevitably, somebody in the group said, oh, I raised their hand. Yep, I had that problem a year ago. Here's what we did. It shortens the path to get where you want to go when you have people that you can rely on. So that may look a little bit differently. You just have to figure out what's going to work for you based on where you're at.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. One of my mentors, Ben Kennedy, who you probably know well, says the loneliest place on earth is the entrepreneur, because they can't talk to anyone. They can't talk to their employees about business for various reasons. The spouse is tired of talking about business. And so now they're alone and they're facing some really big challenges in their business, and they have to do it alone. And it's nice to have somebody who you can trust, somebody who you respect, somebody who can give you that objective perspective on what's going on in that situation. So that can be really, really useful.
Yeah, we don't need to be like, we don't need to feel like Tom Hanks in Castaway if anybody's seen that, right? He's on the island by himself, and no, we don't need to feel that way. There's plenty of resources out there. We just need to find them and get out there and take advantage of them. Yeah.
Now, beyond the mentorship program that you're part of, that's very smart of you to be part of that, with associating yourself with like-minded folks and so forth, your support group. Where do you go for inspiration?
Oh man, depends on where I'm at and what I'm really focused on at that point. But I will say I meditate regularly, so meditation definitely helps me clear my head. On the marketing side of things, there are people that I follow. You mentioned Dan Kennedy. Dan Kennedy is an amazing person to follow in the marketing space, right? I learn all kinds of things that help inspire me. But I'm one of those people, man, I'm a constant learner. So if I'm learning, I am getting inspiration and I am getting motivation to continue to be better. So I can't tell you I've got any one particular source where I get information from. I'm just always looking for the next thing to learn to make myself better.
It's really the curious mind, the student mentality.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's, somebody told me a long time ago, like the day you stop learning is the day you die. And that always stuck with me. It's like, when I'm learning, I feel like I'm making progress. I'm building momentum, and that inspires me. It gives me energy.
Now, I think you said earlier that you weren't an entrepreneur. Like that wasn't your makeup as a child.
Yeah. And
then you got into entrepreneurship. With your dad's business. What is it about entrepreneurship or owning your business that you enjoy?
Oh man, there's so many different things. It's challenging, right? But I enjoyed the freedom. Like I can do what I want. It's my business. Now there's downsides to that, right? But I think once I kind of got that bug and saw what it was like, I was hooked. And, it's, to me, stability, and safety, that doesn't exist anymore. Long time ago, maybe, it was, hey, go to college, get a good job and work there for the rest of your life and get a pension. Like that stuff doesn't happen anymore. Okay. Or at least it's very few and far between. So if I'm going to have instability, either way, I would much rather be paving my own path and feel like I have more control over what what happens. None of us have complete control. There's all kinds of things beyond our control, but I feel like I have much better ability to steer the ship when I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah. Well, this has been good. I've got two final questions for you.
Sure.
Tim, what is the one question I didn't ask you that I should have asked you?
That's a very good question. And I would say, we touched on a lot of stuff I would say, what's the biggest mistake that I see entrepreneurs making? And my answer to that is they think too short term. This is a marathon. It is not a sprint. And we need to be making decisions based on the long term, not the short term. Because most business owners that I've seen make short-term decisions, sometimes things benefit us in the short term and they're very negative in the long term. So think long term, not short term.
Wow, I love that. And it's kind of interesting to what you shared earlier, that when you're putting a plan together, it's a 90-day plan, right?
Yeah.
So you're planning from a 90-day standpoint, but your view is long term. You got a long-term vision, but
Yes.
you're planning for the 90 days. That's
correct. Yeah. It's really interesting you bring that up, right? I think the difference there is it's execution, right? It's better when you're focused short term, but you still need to think about the long term, right? Like the company that bought us was a public company, the distribution company. What do public companies do? They make short-term decisions, right? Because they want to increase shareholder value, and it's all based on 90 days. They made a ton of short-term decisions that ended up really very detrimental for the company long-term because they had to manage things on a 90-day cycle, and they needed to make things look as good as possible every 90 days. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Good stuff. Thank you so much. What's the best way for our listeners to reach out to you?
Two places, rialtomarketing.com. So it's RIALTO marketing.com. Can always schedule a free consult there. I'd be happy to chat with you and give some clarity.
And so you've got a digital marketing agency. You work with small business owners, help them execute some of what we talked about. Got it.
Yep.
Cool.
And then the other thing is if they go to growthmarketingplan.com, at growthmarketingplan.com, we've got all the downloads, tools, instructions, sample marketing plans for the 90-day marketing plan that I ran through today. So if they want access to that, just go to growthmarketingplan.com and they can start working on putting their plan together so they can start seeing results today.
Awesome. Great. So a lot of resources available, folks listening to this. We're going to have that in the show notes so you can directly benefit from it. And then if you want to reach out to Tim, he's got his information as well, the website and so forth. Tim, thank you so much. This was amazing. Appreciate everything you shared with us.
Thanks so much for having me, Salim. I appreciate it.